Chair, did I turn that one on? That one on? Good.
Yes, I was sitting at the
You were a witness?
I was, yes, I was there.
Okay, we need a work session, sorry. Work session. Talk later. All right. We are on. Okay, welcome to the work session, Village of Williamsville work session for May 12th, 2025. We do have two guests this evening, so we will move right along. Our first guest is Captain Charles Persons from Amherst Police Department. And if you want to come up, I mean, it's probably easier, more informal if you just want to have a seat. And I don't know if you've met the board.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Chuck, Bruce. Nice to meet you.
Haley Tori, hi, Jackson.
And we met previously. We actually sat down together, Captain Persons and I sat down and we did have them? We did.
Yeah.
And just reviewed some items, so he would know why we were asking him to come to a work session. Because I didn't want anybody to come in and say, they want from me. So we had some discussions, about some of the items we're looking at for improvement, and for participation, to partner and collaborate with the Amherst Police Department. So I will let you have the floor, please.
Yeah, so one of the main things we talked about was obviously music on Main, or as I like to call it, Mom. But, nice to
That was
It works. Obviously, there's been some concerns in the past. We've had some fights there, usually minor fights, but there is a lot of activity, pedestrians, and sometimes people, making minor violations and infractions. So we want to probably increase our visibility, both for community policing reasons and for deterrence and possibly enforcement on certain, low-level crimes. So our plan currently is to try to have 2 officers there from about 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Thursday. Obviously it's going to be dependent on our manpower, but we're going to do our best to get 2 officers there. Typically they'll be on foot patrol mostly, but they will have cars in the area in case they have to respond somewhere quickly or have to leave in an emergency. But that's the overall plan from, I believe it's June 5th to August 28th, if I have the dates correct.
Thank you.
Excellent, that's
Excellent.
Yeah, we discussed it and we were thinking maybe some of the weeks, but that would be.
I'm going to try to do every week. There's no guarantee. Again, it's manpower dependent, but we should be able to, do most of the weeks every week.
Okay, good. Good.
Thank you, Denise.
Yeah, it is good. Okay.
All right, anything else?
Well,
Do
we
you
did
wanna-
talk about, the plan,
Do you wanna talk
safety
about-
plan for Jolly Boys for Old Home Days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
Yeah, we did discuss Old Home Days. Obviously, last year we did seem to have a little bit more of an issue than in previous years, and it's kind of hit and miss depending on weather and, a lot of youth problems that might occur up there. I had a meeting at the end of last year, myself and Lieutenant Brown from the police department with the Jolly Boys and a few of the representatives, and I think we have a good idea of going forward what we want to accomplish. We're not going to be able to really provide too much more law enforcement, but I believe that they're going to have a lot more private security than they have in the past. And we did talk about possibly modifying some of the rules and times and stuff like that. So I think it's still a work in progress. I still want to meet with them and talk with them further, but it is something we are addressing.
Okay. Yes, we did. We came up with a safety plan, her and Russ, and we worked through the cold winter months on it. And I think we have a really good plan in place that will benefit everybody, the village, the community, law enforcement, so that we don't have an incident. Because that's, what we're trying, we don't want to have one. So we want to try to have a very safe environment for people. And let's see, and is there anything else we talked about? Some of the, for the parade, the roadblock.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for years we've been, trying to increase our security at the parade. you know, it's very difficult because there's so many side streets that come onto Main Street in the parade route. You know, it's difficult to get barricades for all of them, so we try and do our best to block them with, you know, vehicles and stuff like that, but there's obviously a lot of spots where people can drive past the cars onto the sidewalk and those kinds of things, so we're working on those issues. Typically on Main Street, we have that blocked off very well, where it wouldn't be easy to get a car through, but the side streets are always a vulnerability, so we are working on that. The limited availability of resources makes it difficult. The purchasing barricades is very expensive, and just having enough people to park cars in the right spots is also difficult, and you have to also keep in mind that we want people to be able to get to the parade route and walk through there, so we have to leave some avenues for people to walk through. So.
Now, traffic and safety, did you have any questions from the traffic and safety side for the committee or anything?
No questions, you know, the observations, you know, again, you're looking at music on Main for one. I think the biggest infractions that we see from the public are street crossing.
Right.
You know, they'll just pick a place to walk across Main Street and, you know, the street doesn't slow down for music on Main.
Right.
And then the other one would be cars that are illegally parked, but are parked in a way that it kind of impedes traffic flow. You know, they make a spot for themselves, it kind of is not really a spot, it's where because the street kind of narrows and widens and stuff like that, so, you know, those are like probably the more predominant, you know, takeaways from that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I mean, as far as crowd, you know, it's, music on Main hasn't been a crowd where it's rowdy or, you know, things like that. I know Brightsmith had an incident, I think it was on one of the Thursday nights, but, you know, that was an outlier event. But again, you know, it's parking, but that's it. And again, the big, from traffic and from the safety aspect of it, I just, you know, I watch people walk across the street. They don't use the hawk light, they don't use the corner lights, they just
Right.
go.
Mhm. Yeah, so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. They go and one of them's gonna end up getting hit. I watch it all the time, right, well, we discussed it right there across from Brightsmith. They don't even go
Right.
20 feet down to the light, they just kind of run across.
But I will say, yeah, and I will say though, the start date of Music on Main seems to happen before, like, any other area event takes place. Like Hamburg or East Aurora, this, that, the other thing, as far as music, we're an event. So I think like right in the beginning in June, there's a lot more people than as the event goes, you know, into the August or
Right.
July. Just because there's nothing else going on. So if you can have officers, that beginning is really, plus it probably sets the tone for some people that are repetitive, right? So
Absolutely.
that's my comment.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah, as a resident though, the only, I mean, an issue I see in the village is of course the speeders and people who run red lights,
Right.
don't stop at stop signs. Our village is very walkable, and I personally am terrified to cross Main Street at Mill Street, for example. Because we have, you know, the right on reds, now do they go, nobody watches, a lot of going through stop signs, definitely. I don't know how you curtail that or what we can do about it, because you'd have to have somebody stationed there for a period of time to catch, you know, the people who do not obey the law. But that, as a resident, that's my biggest concern, really.
Are you referring to just during Music on Main in particular, or all the time?
No, all
Okay.
the time, unfortunately,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all the time on every street and every stop sign and signal throughout the entire town and village.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's, you know, it's a problem everywhere. This time of year, we are inundated with traffic complaints, and we get to as many of them, we get to all of them eventually, but we can't spend as much time on each one as we'd love to, but.
And I know placing cameras, we were at a NICOM meeting one year, and it was so expensive that no township could afford it.
Right.
You know, with the speeding cameras, so that's out of question. But, yeah, I just wish there were a
One
way.
there from Utica,
She did it.
Yeah, she loved
did
them
it.
too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I remember it was
If you can do it,
crazy
I mean,
amount of money.
you know, obviously have to pass the legislation to make it possible to
Yeah,
even send
yeah.
those tickets out, but, I think after a short period of time, people get the message.
Which is
You know, they can't-
nice, and that's exactly what you wanna have. Anyway.
I think the speeding on Main Street though is it's a serious issue.
Mhm.
And on certain cut-through streets off of Main, where we have young kids in neighborhoods like Academy, right, and they're running the lights, or the stop signs, excuse me. And Evans and North Ellicott, those are some of the hot spots. And it's getting worse. And they're coming into the village, especially from the east heading west, 50, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, there is
Right.
about it.
I've seen a few more cars pulled over the last few months.
I have two,
Yes,
especially on Mill Street.
Mhm.
but if we could get more of that,
We'll-
it would be.
We'll do our best, but obviously, traffic enforcement, it's a top priority for me in my unit, but unfortunately, when we have in-progress calls, sometimes we don't have the resources to do constant traffic enforcement, so, we get to as many, traffic enforcement details as we possibly can, but it's just not something that we're going to be able to be on Main Street all the time, or Mill or any other
Right.
street, so.
How many staff people do you have on the streets, like say during a shift? I know that there's a.
How many cars?
I'd rather not put that on the record, if that's okay.
No problem. I just know it's like a limited number and you have a very large township to cover.
Correct,
across the
yeah.
village, so it just
It is, we're stretched thin and call volume's just going up, so sometimes, traffic is one of the things that falls off unfortunately first. We try to get to it as much as possible, but we also try and hit the areas where we're more likely to have accidents, because sometimes the point of traffic enforcement is to reduce traffic accidents. We get tons of residents that call and say there's excessive speeding on their side streets, and I don't doubt it, we get out there and investigate those things. But when there's also no history of accidents on the street, or it's unlikely to have an accident, it becomes kind of a lower priority than perhaps Main Street or Mill Street, where there's more likelihood to have an accident.
And then just one more thing, I think we'll be round table by then, right? The theft of cars that's happening, is there some way that we can bring a greater community awareness? You can't leave your car for, 3 minutes anymore, especially in some parts of the village, without getting stolen.
It's a unfortunate problem that's, it's not a village problem, it's not a town problem, it's an everywhere problem.
Yeah.
We've put out as much social media as I think we can, and I don't know that people pay attention or not. And even just general media, there's been a lot of, information put out about it. You really shouldn't leave your car unattended with a key fob in it ever. That's obviously part of the problem, was the Kias and Hyundais being able to be stolen because of the TikTok challenge and all that stuff. But then in general, people leave their key fobs in their cars, and it's never a good idea. People think we live in a safe community, it's never gonna it's never gonna happen to me. It does happen in the village, it happens in the town frequently. So you can't have the mentality that it's just not gonna happen here because it's a safe place to live. It's a crime of opportunity, so.
That is true, it's a good way of putting it. Maybe we can
I already
see what-
posted something to
okay.
Facebook, a
Yeah,
few months
put
ago.
something.
Yeah, I
Maybe
did a
we can
little
repeat that.
illustration.
Yeah,
I
now
know.
that it's the summer and warmer weather, and it's just happened last week, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that it's always out there.
Just Amherst PD has their own Facebook page where you can post.
Yeah, and I share
Yeah.
your things, I share your posts,
Yeah, we can
absolutely.
share
share
it
them a lot.
or repost it, so it's
Yeah,
in
anytime you have-
people's
yeah.
minds at
I
the
do
forefront. Okay, perfect. All right.
Anything you're looking for from us?
Yeah.
Uh,
What do we do?
No, I mean, honestly, just the open lines of communication is good, and, any concerns I have in particular, I'll bring them to you, but, I think things have been going pretty well. I think we just have to try and get out there and enforce more and make more time, make us available as often as possible. It's a difficult situation.
Well, we appreciate what you do and the efforts that you're putting forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Good
it.
evening.
You too.
Come back anytime.
It wasn't that bad.
All right, next we have Visit Buffalo Niagara, the mural contest.
Do you want us to sit up there? Should we bring another chair?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think we're gonna do it a little different. There's some folks interested in bringing some ideas forward for this from the business community let that, we'll see how this goes and see if we have time for some input.
Great.
Okay?
Wonderful.
Great, well, to introduce ourselves, my name is Karen Fashana. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Visit Buffalo Niagara.
I'm Drew Brown, I'm our Senior Creative Director, sorry, it's a new title for me.
Yeah.
Do you have cars by any chance?
Yeah, I do, I'll
Yeah,
grab it in
okay,
a second.
get them later, good, thank you.
For sure.
Yeah, Stephen,
President
yeah.
of, you say something about Buffalo Niagara?
Yeah, just to introduce our organization. So we are the destination marketing organization for all of Buffalo and Erie County, which is a fancy way of saying it is our jobs to promote Buffalo and bring visitors here, bring meeting planners, and host events in Buffalo. That is what Drew and I are tasked with. So we represent 2/5 of the marketing department, and usually our efforts take place outside of Buffalo, outside of New York State even. It is our job to do our marketing and advertising to visitors to bring that economic impact to our community. But in a post-COVID world, we have turned a lot of our efforts a little more inward and have had focus locally. And our neighborhood mural project is one of those projects. We're really kind of stepping more into destination development too. So really wanting to beautify the community that we're welcoming visitors to. So in a nutshell, this project is looking to put a mural in somewhere between like 11 to 12 different communities throughout the county.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, just.
So in the first year of tackling this, we didn't really want to bite off more than we could chew. So we wanted to focus just on 3 neighborhoods in 2025. We were just kind of spreading the love geographically. So we were going to choose one in the south towns, one in the city, and one in the north towns. So we made the selection of Hamburg, the Elmwood Village, and then Williamsville. The one kind of through line between all 3 of those is that we actually had an established connection, either with the Chamber of Commerce, the local business association, because we thought we kind of needed that connectivity to the neighborhood to really get this started, considering it was a brand new project. We worked really closely with Ellie. The Gun Park Tavern is one of our stops on the Buffalo Wing Trail, and then Visit Buffalo Niagara has just kind of been in and out of Williamsville planning our own events and such. In addition to that, we certainly wanted any community we choose to have that walkability that Williamsville certainly has, that cluster of businesses that'll give the mural visibility as well. And then the third reason, and most particular for Williamsville, is I am a product of the Williamsville school system as well. I'm a graduate of Williamsville East High School. So that was maybe my bias in selecting Williamsville for the Northtown selection. Yeah, pretty much,
Well,
right?
and the other good thing is the number of murals we already have.
Very true, yes, exactly.
Seems you're receptive to it.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
One on the side of the building.
The right places,
It's
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So now Drew can just kind of speak a little bit more to what the mural would actually kind of look like in each of the communities, and then the artists we've selected.
Yeah, so the artist we selected, he goes by, his name is James Moffett, he goes by the name Yames. You may have seen some of his stuff around Buffalo specifically, but he has collaborated with various artists such as Idris Wajed at the one in the upper left for the Love Black Boys, Black Girls mural. He's been part of the Buffalo AKG Public Art Initiative with the one in the upper right, which is part of the Cobblestone Commons Initiative, which is the long stretch of buildings along the DL&W terminal down near KeyBank Center. The Niagara Street one, you can't quite read it down there in the lower left, but that was a collaboration with artist Nikki Harmon to do one on the side of the National Grid building at Niagara and Busty. And then he's worked with the Hispanic Heritage Council of Western New York on a sign that he did for the west side of Buffalo over on the lower west side. So as you can see, his specialty is color. It's typography. He does all of those fonts that he chooses are custom made, and that's sort of the theme of his stuff is custom type, but really beautiful colors. So what we wanted to do with him was to create a sort of modular design, something that sort of tiles together across all of these murals, because we wanted to have this family look and feel. Whether it's a visitor or a local, we wanted these things to sort of puzzle together. Now, there will be some through lines throughout all of these murals as we develop the 11 or 12. This one specifically is an example for the Elmwood Village, but each of those blank tiles is where we're going to call upon the community through polling, through various aspects of our website and social media to give us input for what should be on this mural, because we want the connection to fall back to the communities. We want them to have as much pride in this as we do in developing them. We want them to feel connected to these things. This also speaks into how we look to carry out these murals. We want to do community days. Essentially what James would do is colored by numbers on long strips of what's called polytab. It's a material that then will adhere to the wall. It's covered by UV protected coating. Typically lasts anywhere from 20 to 30 years once it's applied to the wall. It's kind of like exterior wallpaper. But what he can
What's it
do,
called?
polytab.
Polytab.
But what he can do on each of these pieces is basically what he says is a ghost sketch. And then it becomes color by number. So we can invite people from the community to then come in and say, okay, you can help us paint this thing, and actually give input and your own, you can apply brush to material and have this sense of ownership of a mural that will then be in your community for the next few decades. So that's our idea for this project. That's how we want to call upon the community and give the community something that they're prideful of, but then also give our visitors something to go around the county and search for as they come and explore our neighborhoods, which we're putting a lot more focus on.
Yeah, so we've already created a landing page for each of the neighborhoods. And we would, create some flyers, some social media graphics, provide a QR code that the residents, business owners, anybody could go to the landing page and fill out a 4-question form of what represents their community. In Williamsville, is it the watermill? Is it the St. Peter and Paul steeple? What is it? Is it just your zip code? What phrase, icon? And then, this is really just a mock-up. We're not saying there's 4. Maybe in Williamsville, there's a dozen. There's 6 different ones. We do, like Drew said, wanted to have a through line between all of them across the county, so they all look like they go together, and so they'll have a similar element, whether that's just a Let's Go Buffalo line, and then, the rest of them are individual to the neighborhood that they are from. And as far as those community days go, I mean, if it lined up with Old Home Days or just a Saturday at the library and the kids are coming and
The farmer's market.
a farmer's market, yeah, maybe it's 1 Saturday, 2 Saturdays, and it's really, foolproof in the way that a small child can come and just do a little paint by number and contribute to the mural in that way.
Maybe we could tie it in with our anniversary.
Well, yes. That's a good idea.
For sure.
Yeah.
One of the blocks could be your decoration or something like that. We can inject a little bit of history and a little bit of the new school stuff as well. So where Stephen's come in, Williamsville Business Association has come in, is helping us to identify a few walls that might be contenders for something like this. Our idea for size is somewhere around, maybe 20 foot long by 10 foot high. There are a few walls we have identified within the village that could work. One being on the side of Dieselon, which is next to St. Peter and Paul's. It has a green space in front of it. Obviously, there's conversations to be had there. The other in contention is on the side of Pumpkins, or is it Pumpkins? Very large, very visible wall, especially as you're walking down Main Street and centrally located. Centrally located is really what we're going for with something like this. We don't want it to be too much on the outskirts so that the walkable traffic doesn't have to search too hard to find it.
So I have a question. What I see mostly though are letters and numbers. I
Yeah.
mean, is the artist capable of drawing structures?
Illustrations.
Illustrations?
Very-
Because I haven't seen any.
Yeah, very
Or,
capable.
yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Now, this, obviously, this mock-up here is, we didn't want to get too far into it because we didn't want to show any one community.
Favoritism, I get it.
Exactly,
I get it.
yes, so.
Okay, because I was just curious, how much can we actually offer, I mean, how far can we go?
Mhm.
Because there's so much in Williamsville in the village. I mean, I can think of 20 things right here, that I'd love to see on there.
Absolutely.
But, so I wasn't sure how much the artist.
Yeah, no, not just
Anything.
text-based,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I already filled out your form. by the
Oh,
way.
great.
You did, and
That's great.
actually, 60 other constituents of your community have already filled it out
Yeah,
as
I
well,
filled
and there's
it
a
out
few
as
front
well.
runners, for sure.
Now, what was the other building that was, you said there were 3?
The other one was, we were talking about Canal Bank. It is a historic building, so it'd be that's another layer of complication that you
Yeah,
could
no,
bring into
we
that.
wouldn't do that.
So, I mean, there is a process that he does that's meant for a historic building?
It doesn't matter, it would never pass HBC, I can tell you that right now. So don't even, don't waste your time, it would not
My
happen.
other question is, do the business owner, or do property owners know that they're being considered? Yes?
And the Metro building, right, Jim?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's- we
What's
have,
the metro?
Metro Realty, it's got a green, like a dark green, outer structure, right?
Where's the metro?
It's on the right side, going.
Is that on the corner of Bowl, second
No,
second building from
between
the Methodist
Oak
Church.
Grove and South Meadow, between Gilson and Oak Grove.
Oh, that side, oh my gosh, yeah. Right, but you drive by there so quickly. Yeah, I know, I'm trying to think of places where you actually stop in traffic and you can view it.
Yeah.
I always thought the Pumpkin Building is the most ideal.
That would be the.
Because everybody is stopped there, you know, either
Yeah.
you stop to park, or you're stopped on Main Street because the traffic is so heavy, and it's so visual, and it's such a big side of a building.
And we're definitely looking for something at ground level too. There were a few walls that we saw that were, maybe
Too
20
high.
feet in the
Yeah.
sky, but we want people to be able to engage with these things too.
And I don't know who owns that building, I have no idea.
I'm not sure who that
Do you know?
Which building?
The Pumpkin Building?
Yeah, I reached out to him, I have not heard a
Okay.
response. I did hear back from the salon building owner, he was very much
Okay, oh, cool.
excited about it. And this is on the agenda for St. Peter Paul's board meeting on Wednesday of this week.
Of course, you have to include them.
Okay.
So it's being socialized for their review consideration.
Very nice, exciting, I love the idea.
What's the process for picking?
A lot goes into the thought, especially from the artist side, what's the surface of the wall like? There was one up for consideration that was more of like a ribbed concrete, and it was just like, no, won't work, just because it's too hard to paint, it's too hard to adhere the poly tab to. A brick building is wonderful, pumpkins is great because it's just cinder block, it's nice and flat, not a lot of patching is needed, and it can adhere nicely, so. Really, it's about condition of the wall and the type of material that the wall is, and size, obviously.
So if you have three buildings of proper condition, what's the process for picking one?
I would say at that point, it's about visibility, and the ability for people to stop and engage with it, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yes, for sure.
I guess that's the first step.
Yeah, we're not coming to put anything on the buildings for you. that's where we
Right,
want 'em.
right.
So, okay. Yeah, but if, let's say there's two, well, see, when I look at, when they're saying, bring it down to the level of walkability, that's really the salon, to that eye level. I think of that one as that, the walk.
It does have a little bit of an advantage with the green space there, the parking area, and the parking behind in the church that people would park and walk, or, but they're both,
They are
both have their advantages.
Yeah, they both have their advantages.
There's some parking, parking things that would have to be taken care of in the salon, in the lot with pumpkins, because there's parking there, so if there's cars parked in front of it, you're not gonna be able to take a picture, and it's not accessible.
And to let you know, Invisible Niagara is covering the full cost of all of this. Yeah, there is no cost to the community whatsoever, yeah.
Nice that you picked the village.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is our goal to have it completed this year before the snow flies.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
Before the Super Bowl.
Before the Super Bowl
That's
parade,
right.
yes, yeah.
Maybe one square blank, maybe?
Yes.
Square for that. Yeah,
Definitely.
Billsville, that's right, Billsville. Was there any input for this? I know that there's, from Calvary, did you want to say anything during this, or you want to wait?
I'm gonna wait because I didn't fill out any application or anything like that beforehand.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Was there any other input from the
No.
business community? Okay.
We're all set. Appreciate both of you being here.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for
It's
having me for the
interesting.
agenda.
It's fun.
Exciting.
Great, thank
And
you
it's
so
another
much.
mural. Let's see,
Yes.
that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We have
So they're not-
4 right now, it'll be our 5th one.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
We'd be
Have you
honored
seen-
to have.
If you're not in a hurry and you walk across the street, you'll see the mural in the gazebo.
The pavilion, is that the big pavilion at the end of the
Okay.
park? That's,
Oh, yeah.
it's a picture of the mill and the
It
waterfall.
was very well done. It's a very,
Yeah.
Oh,
very,
beautiful.
people love that. They take pictures all the time.
Oh, I'll walk back there.
Great. Okay?
Thank you so
very
much
much.
for your time.
Thank you.
These are our cards too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, don't be shy. Very nice.
that up.
I heard on that here, you put on was it last year?
It's kind of like a canvas, and then you adhere to the building. Speaking of buildings, I did text Allie, we did the, she never got back to me. I'll continue, I'll try.
Yeah. All right, ready? Please let Sophie get.
Thank you, everybody.
Do you want me to make that presentation or at another time, so outside the meeting? We can meet outside. Okay. I just wasn't clear on whether you wanted me to bring it up today, or if I should just meet with you guys outside.
You can bring it up to me and then if not, we'll just have a separate meeting and bring it to the, to the work session another time.
So I'll just leave that. So it's on the table.
And then it'll give it to Sue, one business card, Sue.
Okay. All right.
Only un moment. I'll make it
Yeah,
super
we're
quick.
gonna kind of go off the agenda, gonna add to the work session.
Okay.
Okay?
So I don't know if you guys know, but we have the Village Preservation Foundation, and that is an organization, it's a not-for-profit that houses the farmer's market, and it also houses the art festival, because they're both not-for-profit events. So, what is in our mission statement, we used to do the pots, flower pots, up and down Main Street for years, we did those.
Really?
Yeah, so,
We don't, not anymore, no? we-
No.
Yeah, what you're saying.
no, it's,
Yeah.
so I don't quite know what happened there at some point, I don't remember who was mayor, but somebody took them over. And then we, I think, Wendy, do we still store the pots for them? No. Micheller's, so.
We're done with it.
So, but it is in our mission statement that, we add something to the beautification of Main Street. So at our last meeting, we came up with that, I can't remember the dollar amount, and we'll have to meet about that afterwards, but there's a dollar amount that we'd like to make a contribution to beautifying Main Street. If we could meet with you guys and just figure out where that should go and how we should do it, and,
Thank you.
and also, well, we thought about ideas like trying to motivate the current business owners or landlords, to give a prize cash, to get them to actually do something, but I don't know if that's gonna work. The other thing that I think we'd like to do is do it in Trey Meeser's name, because he's now retired from our organization, and, he's given so much to the village that, we'd like to. So I don't know, I'm hoping you guys can come up with some ideas. So that's it.
I've actually got a couple of flash. Remember, windows for Christmas.
Okay, hey, we're open,
Maybe,
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah.
We can talk about it. All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
How much did we say? Right now, I think we've had approved, Wendy's on the committee with me, or on the board with me, but I think we've allotted 2,000, but if, we need to adjust that, we can. So, but that was just because we didn't know what we were doing, so we're like, well, let's give a dollar amount and,
Yeah,
You know,
I love
then
it.
go.
Thank you very much.
talk. So,
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, have
Thank
fun.
you. Oh, so many gifts today, we did talk, seems like.
Yes, some warm weather and full moon.
Yeah,
Warm
is it
weather
today?
and full
Full
moon.
moon? Yeah, I like that. It was all nice.
All right. So we're gonna go on to the grant update?
Oh, we're actually having a meeting. No, just kidding.
Bye, Marty.
It's getting cool. I didn't bring it just in case. That's getting really hot. It's okay, I'll be fine. I can borrow somebody's sweater. Maybe I'll do that. I'm not used to it. I don't ever put conditioning in my room, so I'm not used to it.
We can do the grant update while we get this sorted out, sorry.
Yeah, do the grant update.
Okay, so, we don't have a ton of updates right now, we're waiting on a few reimbursements to come in. And what's actually not included on here was a short window of opportunity that we had to apply for a parks grant for the Garrison Park bathrooms and changing rooms. That was something that was offered kind of as a surprise, we didn't expect that parks grant this year, so we applied for that, which is nice because it's a 90-10. So that requires a 10% village commitment versus the normal parks grant, which are 50/50. So that's
Nice.
really nice, and we're gonna wait to hear back, to
Who's
see
that
if
through,
we got
Sophia?
anything from theirs.
Who's that through?
Pardon?
Who's that through?
That's through New York State Parks.
Nice, I like it.
Okay. And it was for how much? Do we have a dollar amount?
90,
Yeah, so that one, let's see, what was the, yeah, that was almost $1 million
Okay.
for that
The
one.
doctor,
Yeah.
because of bathrooms.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah,
pool.
yep.
So a changing thing, right, bathhouse,
Bathhouse.
Yes.
bathhouse.
And the repairs to the pool, which were
Sounds so.
kind of prohibitive last year, so.
No, I mean, they're basically just oversized restrooms.
Restrooms.
I know, I like
Just
the
some
Terry
restrooms,
Bob's
yeah.
house.
Which is what we use now, the porta potties, we have fat.
Yeah.
I know, they're just so,
They're
I know.
big.
And that's one of our most used parks
It
this
is.
summer with children, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
I
definitely.
mean, hear it from mothers all the time, oh, I don't want to get my kid in that porta potty. I don't blame them, I wouldn't either.
Of course.
So it's, I think it's a good opportunity to.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful, we got that. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and that's a great 90-10 match.
That's
Unheard of
fabulous.
for that. Because last year we did apply, it was 50/50. and-
Yes, and yeah, that really was.
So the application is in, so.
It is, yeah, so we're just waiting to hear. So we're looking for some gap funding, for the village hall and fire hall ADA upgrades. Those estimates came in more expensive, than the initial round, just because of economic conditions. And, let's see what else we have. And we're in the middle of executing the contract for the ADU+1 grant, which will hopefully offer village residents a little more flexibility to age in place, to stay with their families, and to just improve on the homes in the village. That's our grant update.
Thank you.
We will also have another 30,000 coming to us from Erie County Legislator Jeannie Vino for DPW, for the environmental upgrades to the DPW building.
Which that'll be great. We have a meeting, with them on Thursday to discuss the study findings and to see what they're recommending to do with the upgrades, so,
Perfect.
yeah, exciting stuff.
It is, lots going on. It's good.
Okay, then the comprehensive plan update, the big update is that we would love to see everyone tomorrow at 6:30 at Williamsville South High School. Our consultants are going to give a short 30-minute presentation on what comprehensive planning means and why you should be interested in it. And then they'll have different workstations set up in the cafeteria where you can walk around, learn about some of the issues that are prevalent in our community. This builds on the work that was done last year by Wendy Salvati when she did her neighborhood visioning forums. And we took all that data and synthesized it into what priorities are based on village resident feedback.
Okay, so where do we enter the school building? Because I have no idea.
Okay, so the front door and both side doors will be open.
Okay.
So we went today and made sure everything was accessible. So
Okay.
there will be a side door which enters the cafeteria that has handicap accessibility. The front door is accessible.
Okay.
And then the side door is accessible as well. We're gonna have tons of signage, yes.
Okay. We'll find your signage then.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
follow the crowd, follow
Been
the
there
crowd, it's
once.
gonna be fun, yeah.
The presentations in the auditorium?
Yes.
Yeah.
And really, it sounds very official, comprehensive planning, but what it means is crafting the vision for our community's future and taking the things that are important to you about the place where you grew up and making sure that those things stay important to the next generation.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, very good. 5-year capital plan, keeping that rolling.
Yes,
right?
we are just
Keeping that
working
rolling.
hard on that, yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Sophie, Administrator Canal?
Sure, I don't really have much of a technology update. I haven't looked to see if we got any increased app upload, but I will check for next time. For the budget, I did want to point out to you guys that you'll be getting a new budget, a little bit revised. So in talks with the county, the overall village assessment went down discovered this on Friday. Must have been some successful challenges which brought it down a good chunk.
Okay.
It went from 835,339,459 to 835,160,209. So it's not like a huge
Yeah.
difference, but it just tweaked the tax rate a little bit. It actually decreased it for the residents, so no bad news there.
So we're under the
Yeah.
cap, so
Yeah.
we're.
So it's just slightly revised, it doesn't change our levy number, it doesn't change our tax cap number, nothing like that. So I just wanted to point that
Thank
out.
you.
So any copies you have, we'll be getting you new ones, and we're just gonna put them in the binders for
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect, so I wanted to point that out. It's all up online. And also, there's a copy here at Budget Hall, if any resident ever wants to look at it. There's a budget summary right here and online that anybody can look at, which basically breaks everything down. There was a comment in the Be Heard News, which I just wanted to respond to regarding our increase in spending. And that person called out a 17% increase in the general fund spending, but what they neglected to say is that 650,000 of the 850,000 is grant expenditures,
Right.
which we get back. Okay, so we are not raising our spending by
Right.
17%, it's pretty flat,
Yes.
okay?
Thank you for explaining that.
Sure. All right, any other questions on the budget at all? All right,
If we do have questions, what's a good resource to turn to?
anybody can call me and they can find anything online, but I'm always available if residents have any questions. Okay,
Thank you. Staff update?
Staff update, I did want to point out that Catherine has been interviewing a lot for the pool attendants, so anybody out there who's interested, we're interviewing now, but she's been doing a great job getting that ready.
So we have a lot of interviewers,
Mhm.
interviewees?
Yep,
Okay, awesome.
we do lots of.
But I didn't post anything to Facebook this year, so I guess you just had a list
I don't
already.
think we need it, yeah.
Awesome, that's
Good.
wonderful. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yay,
Yeah, thank you.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, those are my updates.
All right, thank you, Sue. DPW crew chief Dylan, I guess we look up here now.
Yeah, we can look at, in the, our never-ending endeavor to try to find more space.
Mhm.
We're pretty shoehorned in there over on DPW 40 South Long and other properties in the area. We kind of looked at the end of South Long. I don't know if you have the aerial available. Her screen is not cooperating, so it's kind of tricky. You go forward.
Where is this?
This is the very end.
Yeah.
Go back one more.
Behind the parking.
So what we found is that the right-of-way extends, that flag is 6 feet to the left of where the right-of-way is. So basically, it's, there are patios within the village right-of-way at the very end of South Long, which kind of, from my perspective, inhibit the ability to me to use it. Rendering that area kind of useless. The other thing I'm noticing here is it looks like that also may be in the town, because that very last parcel is split, so I'm kind of backing off on any ability for us to use that at all, given that we'd have to find some coordination with the town to do it. But it is our street, it is our right of way in the town that has a patio on it, so.
Does that mean that we can go barbecue there?
I don't know what it means, honestly,
There you go,
in
the
the
village
past.
patio.
We've had license agreements where people have encroached in the right of way. But now looking at my tax map, it does appear as though that's actually the town manager, so maybe nothing that we can do about it.
If it's in the town of Amherst,
I think it kind of
it's
scraps
really their issue,
any
Really?
use of the end of South Long for anything other than the
South Lawn, oh, that's the town?
Oh, I see, yeah, see, so the very,
tiny, tiny little piece there.
Is that runs on the lawn or who did it?
So much ado about nothing, we can disregard this, because I don't think we can
Can't do anything about it.
anything about it anyway.
And what are we currently using it for? We're just
Nothing,
nothing?
it's brush and scrub brush and patios. If you go back one more.
Is there any way to
Yeah.
open?
There's like a little.
Yeah, to
Right, but I didn't
the
realize
left of that
over
fence,
here was the town of Amherst.
Okay.
you can kind of see the pink flag way off to the left.
Yeah.
That's our back southeastern corner.
Okay.
And then to the right, there you might be able to see where the pink flag is.
Yeah.
It's just one of those weird village conditions.
One of those
But
little-
if we cleared that, could we use that for anything, for,
I could put trees there when I have trees for our fall planting. That's kind of what I
You
use
need
in
to store them
96 South
until you
Lawn.
plant them, right?
yeah,
Using 96 is a healing bed for trees.
right,
When that goes away, as our long-term vision
right, for
envisions,
the, for the strange
for
people
train people and for
and
parking, separate the trail from the parking lot.
Yeah.
I lose a significant portion of real estate that is used.
And that's
for
pretty
recreation.
shaded, right, Ben?
Yeah, it's
Shaded?
fairly wooded, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of construction debris and junk.
I think it's a good idea if you put the trees there.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta get over this issue that it's not actually in the village, not all of it, half of this, half of this.
Yeah, yeah, if we could just get to where it's the village.
Yeah, and,
So did you have it surveyed?
yeah, I had them put down the flag, so I knew exactly what was
Right.
what. It looked a little goofy to me from aerial photographs and on the ground, and that's what's going on. Somehow that apartment building is 0 lot line to the right of way, and then they encroached in with their patios. Now, maybe somewhere there was a handshake back in the day, I don't know. I've looked through some of the planning documents, it doesn't appear to exist in the deed, there's no identification of
There's no time.
encroachment in the right of way. I mean, we're not completely dead, I could use half of it,
Yeah,
and I'm
That's-
sure the town wouldn't mind me using
No, I doubt it.
our right of way in the town for additional storage.
So is it the right of way or is it the whole parcel?
It's our right of way.
mhm.
The street bounds, and if you, unfortunately, we don't have the GIS up there. But the street ends, and then we still own it, it's just brush and scrub and construction dumpings. And then it's that, a couple patios and a fence and some yard.
So that's looking south.
The end of the street.
At the very end of the street, yeah.
Mhm.
So how far do we go over towards the east, towards the?
30
home?
feet, basically. It's a 60-foot right of way.
Okay, and then who owns like the rest of it? Overgrown?
We do,
We do.
We do.
yeah,
We own it all.
yeah.
Okay,
It's basically
Right up to
neglected.
the
Nice
back
chunk of-
property lines.
nice little-
Yep,
Area.
yep.
yeah, it's a nice area.
It kind of shuts in behind the properties that front on Garden Parkway,
Right.
and then the backyards of these apartment complexes that are on Union.
Okay.
I mean, there's still some opportunity there,
Yeah,
Yeah, we are.
I mean, I've been down there and looked at it, and I think we can use it.
for some, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
we should use it. It's our property, we should use it, we need space. DPW is always in need of space. So
Like
it
we got
shouldn't
this
just be.
situation, so I don't know, because they're in the town proper, what that means to us, if they're on our right of way, I don't.
Chip, would we need to, let's figure that out.
I'm getting my bearings here. Is it, on GIS, it looks to me that the South Lawn ends well within the village boundary.
Yeah. The pavement does, yes.
Right.
But,
Right?
yeah.
This is the municipal boundary right here.
Yep. Yep, but that is incorrect.
What is this? Oh, this is a tax map.
Tax.
Yes, this, either
So
this is.
shaded portion there.
For what?
Showing
It's hard for me to, I kind of know where it is, but I can't really guesstimate how large it is.
Yeah, I've been back there.
Well, it's kind of
Yeah.
overgrown, so it was really kind of tough.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
I
we
don't know
need
where it ends and where it starts, I don't know exactly.
But that gray
That is
garage
not showing the correct.
does not encroach on our property. From what I did not see.
Yes.
Then
We'll use it.
Yeah.
It's not off, I don't know, it's not near the, it's further down.
It's at the end, yeah, it's down to the end.
Yeah, it's at the end. Past, going
Oh,
south.
sorry.
Yeah, if you just keep going, you get to like, it's like a dead end.
That area, right?
It's a dead end.
It's near there, right? Because you see those apartments, those condos, those are the condos. So it's toward the end of Lehigh Memorial Trail almost.
No.
Yeah, it's against
Yeah.
it.
It's not
Yes,
really,
all right,
yeah.
12 is 15.
You just go
Robert
down
Deere,
South Lawn.
Well,
be careful.
actually,
Go to the end of
there's
South
numbers here.
My yard was staring at me off my deck.
No, those are the numbers.
Well, they're, well, not that big a line, not very.
But
says the village there, here's.
Yeah, the numbers are different.
Yeah, you're right.
This is GIS, according to GIS,
That's our tax map. Building, I believe.
I don't know, when was this text map?
I don't know.
Yeah, I get it, sort of. But
So
it's-
anyway,
We'll have to figure that out.
just a little bit more to,
2009.
Yeah.
investigate.
Yeah, if we could figure that part out, and then, I mean, we did the survey, but let's make sure we're within our
My legal rights.
legal rights, yeah.
Yeah, because frankly, if it is in the village, and it's village property, we
Oh, I think,
need to do, maybe my recommendation is to do something. It's to either give them the legal right to occupy that space, or to tell them to
Yeah.
remove their stuff.
Mhm.
It's public property.
Right.
And just allow a private property owner to take public property.
Right, so if you could get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, so we gotta
Another
figure
thing
out
on the
exactly
list,
where the
sorry,
municipal
guys.
boundary actually
Yeah,
is.
let's
Because
figure it out.
We've
our-
got
We have
conflicting,
Our two
conflicting-
maps have conflicting boundaries of where the
Yeah.
town even is. These
Yeah.
are the things that we run.
yeah.
Well, let's finally sort it out, because if we don't, then we're just gonna, it'll get kicked down the road again until whenever, and we need to take care of it, because we need the space.
Yep.
So and we need to use it, and we need to put trees there in the fall,
Or something, yeah.
yeah, or something. So, we've got it. If everything else is gonna fall into place, we need to, utilize all of the space we can. All right, recycling and garbage code update, are we okay to go there?
This is a little
Spin
more
around.
interesting. Our code states that a premise shall not have more than 2 totes.
Mhm.
Our garbage section doesn't define what a premise is.
What is it, premise?
So in the property maintenance section, a premise is the property on which multiple buildings can exist. Did I read that correctly, Chip?
Yeah.
So we have a number of situations in the village where premises have more than 2 totes, quite a few more than 2 totes. Take for instance, the towers on Main Street, they have 50 totes. Take Georgetown Apartments, they all have totes.
Still.
They still have, yes. Various restaurants and some other multi-tenant locations have totes. In the code, it's at the discretion of the refuse officer. I think that's me.
That is you.
guys have appointed me.
It'll be
Refuse
official.
officer, right?
It's official.
I am inclined not to continue to violate our code, and I don't want to give out more totes. People should they should have
Right.
dumpsters,
Right.
Can I ask you one question?
unless you want me to continue with the status quo.
No, for
No,
example,
I agree
the
with your
little
inclination.
apartment building that's owned by Hunt on Spring Street, that little,
Mhm.
they have totes.
They have a bunch of their own privately contracted totes.
Yeah, and it's always very messy, so they can keep their totes as is?
Privately
Privately
contracted.
contracted.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right, because that's
We're
true,
not
'cause it's
picking
always,
them up.
yeah, it's always
You have
very
to
messy
think-
though.
Think about, there's all of those totes, we're picking them up. That's tonnage that we're
Of
paying
course,
for.
of course, yeah,
And
yeah,
there should be dumpsters.
Yeah.
And
and they should be paying for it.
and it should be,
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
Well,
Property.
there's a larger issue, I think, tied up in this. And so,
Right.
the village code added the garbage provision is old, I mean, it was enacted when, well, actually, the garbage provision is actually newer than the.
I think it's
So
been
I don't-
amended. many
We amended
times now.
the wording.
Well, right, but it was initially adopted in 2007, which is before I started working with the village. There was a separate recycling chapter
Mhm.
that's really old. It's
Mhm.
from 1992 and has really never been amended. And there was a former 2007, they replaced the 1993 garbage, rubbish and refuse law. And they're not entirely consistent, so under the recycling chapter, where you have a complex that requires more than 5 totes, now I'm sure it was the case, the time that was drafted, the recycling totes
And that's what we found.
were this
They were-
big.
the-
So it was 5, but if you regularly did more than 5, then you needed a dumpster.
Mhm.
So we have a code, so if you, the recycling, basically,
almost.
you may
They're
wanna
smaller.
make those the same, and let's say, the bigger picture, in my mind, there's no reason to have two separate chapters governing garbage and recycling.
No, should
Take
be
them all
all together, too
Okay.
confusing.
But in combining those into one, they should also probably be harmonized, but if the issue is anybody who's gonna be over two, you know, it's absolutely fine, but it could have a significant impact on a lot of people who are currently getting their garbage and recycling picked up by the village, who are going to have to contract privately to have that stuff picked up.
Mhm.
But
That's
if
the
you
real-
do this, I mean, there's have to be a public hearing and people can come and be heard, but that's the issue, and I don't know. I think the other issue is because we piggyback essentially on Amherst on the contracting with your hauler, we may wanna try to coordinate what our code says with the town code, because otherwise it makes it hard for your vendor, presumably, to have two different rules under the same contract.
Okay.
Yes.
So, all of this is to say, there's a fair amount of looking at these two code provisions and figure out the best way to combine them into one rational, consistent, internally consistent provision, and also externally consistent to the extent we want to coordinate with how the town.
This town. Okay, okay, so, timeframe, you have to look at this, it's gonna take a little while, what do you?
Well, I don't think it would necessarily take that long to draft, but I can't make decisions for the municipality on how you want, like, how the
Yeah, okay, so-
judgments you wanna make. What maybe what makes sense is me to take a look at what Amherst does.
Yeah, let's take a
Compare it
look
to,
at that.
sort of a substantive comparison, maybe I don't know who's in charge of garbage.
Brian Cotta.
And maybe we need to have a conversation
Okay.
with
I
that.
reached out to him last week, he didn't get back,
Okay.
I'll push it.
So, what I would say is, I think there probably has to be some discussions, so that some decisions can be made on, you know,
Right.
how we
Yeah.
want, and the
Similar
biggest
language.
issue being those premises, or those businesses, or those property owners who generate a lot of garbage and recycling, the extent to which you want to require them to have private, to contract themselves for hauling, or whether the village is gonna haul for it.
Right. That's really the big question, I think, because that's gonna have the biggest impact on,
What does Miss Holly have?
they have both. The condos, or I'm sorry, the townhouses have totes, the apartments have a dumpster.
And then do they contract separately? Because they really should, I mean, there's really no ambiguity, so that's really just under the current code for, well, again, we're talking garbage or
For
recycling.
the apartments.
But I know, but for the garbage or the recycling,
Garbage,
what about the recycling?
they have totes and a dumpster. So the apartments have a dumpster and the townhouses
But who
have.
picks up the dumpster is the question.
Casella, they contract.
Right, but they
private.
contract with it
Yeah.
privately, so, because that's what the code requires.
But our
Recycling.
townhomes are all getting totes.
And
Because
we,
they're
and the village takes
Yeah.
care of those?
Properties, yeah.
We deliver them and they are under
Right.
the modern contract,
Mhm.
Right, so that's
which is a bit of a
village.
surprise to modern because we added a bunch of residents that was not in the initial contract. They're doing it.
Mhm.
So,
But each of those would be considered a separate premise.
Well, not necessarily, it's one,
Is it a couple?
let me see how they provided those.
I mean, each townhouse is its own property, has its own water service.
Yeah, but are they,
Yeah, it's one that's
each
developed.
one?
Yeah. So they are premises, but attached to each other.
Mhm.
But they're
Right.
individually owned, are they not?
They are.
So, yeah, see, at least, again, according to GIS, these are all one, this is one big parcel.
I don't think that's correct.
Really?
Yeah, it may not be, but that's what GIS is showing.
I don't think
It
it's
says it's
updated.
being owned by Natali Building Corp. Now, this just may not be current,
It's not current,
but,
obviously.
well,
The
Well,
townhouses are,
We'll have to,
they're individually bought. They're owned by
Yeah.
individuals.
no, that,
Yeah, the units
Yeah,
maybe,
they-
but that doesn't mean the property is the dirt could be owned by,
Oh,
Yeah,
but they all have individual tax bills, that I know, for the
they
town.
do. Because this is only showing one SBL.
That was a big deal that they all had individual water taps, because they really screwed up our road.
okay,
So I bring that to you, just,
thank you.
it's a festering issue that comes up on a regular basis when
It
people
is.
wanna have more than two
Mhm.
totes.
Mhm.
And I assume there's a number of businesses along Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
Also.
Can you make a list then of all places?
We could try.
You
I mean,
should have
well,
all
we
that.
would need to have that.
I'll have
Every tote that's given out is, it has a serial.
Yeah,
number.
Katie can put something together for us.
Yeah, I
Have
think
Katie
we need
put that
that,
together.
you know?
We could absolutely.
It's like an inventory.
Yeah.
And then let's look at the code.
Yeah, so
for
maybe,
town
so I'll
and
take a
state.
look at the town one, and then I'll take a look, and I'll just try to provide a list of at least issues.
I will do the same.
Yeah, and then.
And I'll meet with Ryan to see if there's anything in the code that he would like to see changed
Right.
as well. Probably easier on our end. than
Right.
town.
Right.
Right.
Change it now where we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also, how do they handle the,
There are apartment complexes, they get a lot more people.
and the
Yeah.
condominium complexes?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do they,
But the tower is all
The
separate.
towers, right, they got.
In the town, they pay their, yeah, I was in my association, I can answer your question if you want. I was president over on North Forest, or Maple, and I had to pay a contractor to come in and take our garbage away. It wasn't, even though we had 40 units, and we had to pay for our own garbage pickup.
Did you get any sort of assessment break for that?
I truthfully can't remember.
where is that from?
I was on Maple in the North Forest, the boardwalk, I was president,
Oh, yeah,
and we
yeah,
had 40 units, and we paid for our own garbage,
okay.
if that helps you, I don't know.
So we'll see, let's take a look at
It would
it.
depend on who's paying for it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a
You're
simple
getting
thing,
it,
but
It's
it
not.
really snowballs into
Yeah.
a pretty
Yeah.
significant issue.
When we start to look at.
You're talking dollars and
numbers.
cents.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say there's a lot of tonnage.
Right.
It's gonna cost them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the offset. We don't have a separate garbage line in your tax bill.
Right, right, exactly, comes out of the overall.
Yeah, I assume the town is, I mean, the towns operate so different from the villages, that they probably have districts, garbage districts.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other districts they have.
Well, if nothing else, we do need to update, because
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
very.
it is definitely, there's no reason, if for no other reason, that
Right.
they should be combined into one,
Okay.
I think.
So,
Did you just want to touch on this for a second?
yeah, kind of going back to your grants, we are in the process of going through the design and review of sidewalk project. We received a CAP grant back in I think you did 3, maybe early 24. And so what this timeline does is sort of walk you through where we've been, through the various draft design reports, environmental screenings. We are still currently in DOT review process. We're expected to begin final design of new sidewalks and crosswalks around the village in May. That's this month. Fingers crossed.
So this says a Main Street.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a misnomer. The concept is that where sidewalks are lacking, it allows for the completion of the network to get to Main Street.
Okay, got it.
So it's not directly on Main Street, and that's always been a little bit of a sticky point. But think of it as basically completion of the sidewalk grid in the village. This isn't the complete completion, but it's adding portions to
To it.
the missing segments. Specifically on Oak Grove, we're looking at walks on Stanton on the north side.
Mhm.
We're looking at walks on Columbia and Monroe, south of Worley, kind of around the loop. And then we've got crosswalks at Mill, at Belmont and Erin, at St. Peter and Paul,
Howard and Glen, right?
Oh, but Hillside and Glen, thank you.
Hillside Glen?
Yes, yes.
So are they on schedule for this?
No, we should have this bid this year. That was our initial schedule. This date threw a couple of wrinkles in by having us do an assessment, an archaeological assessment of all the properties that we're touching. So it was, a SHPO type review to make sure that we weren't damaging any historical items. And then a wetland delineation of every property that we were touching to do sidewalks. So that really
Very
threw us
thorough.
off months. So barring any additional crazy reviews coming back from the state, we can do final design, detailed design of these locations and get things out to bid for next year. With completion in, as you can see, September of '26. I envision this project running a lot like the last site roads to school sidewalk project where the village did the digging. Saved us a lot of money. We were able to get a lot more concrete in the ground doing it that way. Especially considering that this was a grant from 3 years ago. Prices are not the same. We're not gonna get as much concrete in the ground as we initially thought. So any amount of work that we can do on our part will help expand the reach of this particular
Right.
state grant.
Okay, very good. All right, so just wanted everybody to know where we are.
It is happening, it's moving, just at snail's
Right.
pace.
It's moving slow, as we do in government, right? We don't, but the rest of the process around us does.
Pretty much every other day.
We hurry up and wait, that's right. Get all these ideas and everything going in motion and then hurry up and wait. All right, thank you, Ben. Okay, committee reports, you have no committee reports, I just wanted everybody to know there's a Memorial Day ceremony. The laying of the wreath that we always have, Amherst Veterans Committee has at the Williamsville Cemetery. And I know Jim, you were there, right?
Yeah.
So, if anybody wants to go, it's always,
Nice.
it's a little somber event, but yes.
That's on Memorial Day?
It's on Memorial Day.
And for the
1 PM. So, Asher Crossing update, Chip, anything?
So I talked to Mark today, who confirmed, that he is spoken to the attorney too, but is also still not received. We're all waiting for the as-built, which has been done
Okay.
for 2 months, and for some reason has not made its way over to Mark. But we're,
From their attorney or from their?
I'm speaking to the attorney, and I know he spoke to the attorney, and I can only really talk through their attorney.
Okay.
And, I don't know why they haven't.
Okay, because I know
So
that. we've got-
reportedly it has been received by the attorney.
I don't
The
know,
request.
no, I didn't ask, no, I doubt it's in his possession, I think his client told him they have it. And I advised him, okay, send it over to Mark Burke, because we can't, that's what we asked for it for, so he could review it.
Right,
To
so,
determine, what,
so are there any certificates of occupancy that they're waiting for?
yeah.
Okay.
All of them.
All of them, okay, then we'll have to wait, we'll have to keep waiting. Because we need that, because I've also been, I learned last week that they're not, I don't know what was in the plan, because, I don't know what's in the as-built, but there are not ADA compliant sidewalks and things.
And again, that's certainly for Mark to determine.
Okay. All right, so sooner we get that, the better. It's
Yep.
been, it's like beating a dead horse, I know, I'm sorry, Chip.
No, it's okay, and I'm
Doing what
trying,
you
I can't
can.
follow up, I can't go over and.
I know, can't go over, send a courier over for it, can I get back?
I don't, there's no downside to doing that.
Yeah, there is none. Okay. Elk Creek Dam update, just that we are, again, Gomez and Sullivan will be here for work session on the 27th. I encourage people to be here, especially residents, anybody who's businesses, anybody interested in the draft study for the waterway reconciliation.
Is there, are any comments from the board? Have you guys reviewed?
After reading it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait, I wanna hear them speak.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not, it's a little complicated, you know, the terminology, I had a rough time. That's why I'll be prepared with questions hopefully, when they come. And I'd rather ask them, you know, it's their responsibility, right?
It is.
So, everybody has a copy of it, right?
Actually five.
The dam study?
I email.
Yep.
Yeah, so review it.
Does everybody have a hard copy of it?
I do, mine's right here.
Okay, excuse me, can we have hard copies for everybody of it?
So,
Like tomorrow
You can bring them tonight.
or tonight, what even be better? Then everybody can leave with
I
one.
have my copy.
It's hard to, I have a hard copy.
I have one, so don't print one for me.
Eileen has one, I have a hard copy. 3 hard copies.
Yeah.
Do you need?
I have one,
You have
I
it?
have one. Actually,
Oh, it's hard to read. See, I like to make little notes on mine. I don't like to,
Yeah, let's get, if you could do that, that'd be great, thank you very much. Okay. All right, chicken coop local law. We did have some discussions on that, we received that information,
I did some research,
Okay.
research as well.
on Garrison. No,
No.
8 chickens or hens, from what I saw in that space. And because we don't have anything in our local law telling them how large that coop has to be, but there are guidelines for how many you can have within a 4 square feet, you know, like one per.
Space constraints.
So if you have 8, they can, from what I've read, they can turn on each other and they'll fight.
Actually, I agree. What I heard, and I actually spoke to somebody who raises chickens,
Mhm.
and she said, number one, when you go to Tractor Supply and buy your little chicks, you have to buy 6. Nevertheless, you can buy 12, but always has to be groups of 6, because that stops people from buying them for Easter. Like, I want a little chick to give to my child. They don't want 6 chicks. So 6 chicks is actually the norm. And I did a lot of research, I found nothing that 8 hens are better than 6, absolutely not,
Neither did I.
no, nowhere.
So we're gonna stick with the 6, I
Yeah.
believe, anybody
I
disagree
yeah,
with that?
yeah.
Aren't we set to vote on those two?
But I did-
We can delay it if we need. We can
But I
table it.
did want to talk about the fee.
Mhm.
And I did talk to somebody who has chickens and had them for years. And initially, when she started her coop, she had to come before the zoning board of appeals. And that was the $150 fee. And then when Mayor Rogers was mayor, she changed that. It was removed from the zoning board of appeals. It
Village
went-
board,
Pardon me?
the
What's
village
that?
board.
The village board, because she was
She was the
yeah, you know what I'm
proponent of
talking
it.
about, yeah, the village board. And so then there was no fee. The only fee that was associated with the coop was when somebody came and looked at the property and looked at the coop and received the permit. So when I told this individual that we were gonna charge $150 every 2 years for inspections, she didn't understand that. She goes, I understand having one inspection when the coop is new and you see the chickens, but to come every year is unnecessary. Number one, she explained it like people in Amherst have dogs. And I totally agree with this, and they're $15 a license per year per dog. Nobody ever goes to anybody's house and checks on the welfare of these dogs. And I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I understand that,
And the chickens themselves, what is $150 every 2 years? Why check on them every 2 years?
I think, and I'm gonna stick to that 2 years for now, because I think that we need to know, that they're following the guidelines, and they're not infringing on the 15-foot property.
Well, that's what you do in the first inspection anyway.
Right, but people can expand their coop.
But that's the one thing about living in the village, okay? We're so small, and we're neighbor on top of neighbor on top of neighbor. And if somebody does something wrong, we hear it immediately.
Right, but we should have the right to inspect. We should have
But
the
I
right to
don't,
inspect every
yeah, but
2
I
years.
don't think we should charge them $150. I think it's
I can
absurd.
agree with that.
Yeah,
I can agree
that's
with
what I
that being,
want, that's what I wanted
you know,
lower.
You know what I think?
Yeah.
Because there was also a good point made by the woman who was looking to have 8 hens,
Yeah,
that you do need some fee so that people don't just do it to do it.
oh, I totally
We don't want
agree.
people to just say, I'm gonna get chickens and just throw a
Yeah.
coop out there,
But that's
and
not-
then not do the right
Right,
thing.
but to have a solid coop is
So-
at least $1,000 investment. So these
It's
people who are investing in chickens,
Okay.
they're not doing it just because it's like a part-time, hobby they're suddenly gonna start. So I would prefer that we lower the inspection fee or the permit fee, because I think it's,
What do you think?
I think 75.
Okay, how about 75 and then each subsequent, if you've already established your coop, 50?
I like that.
Okay, does that
What
sound
do you-
more fair?
I like that. What do you guys think?
Subsequent, what, so
It's on
seventy-five?
a
Every 2
renewal
years.
or-
Every 2 years.
Every 2
So the
years.
first
I pay
initial,
$26 a year for my dog.
right, so the first initial inspection would be 75.
75.
And then every 2 years after that, it would be $50.
$50.
I'm good with that.
And inspection.
Right.
To inspect.
Yeah. What do you think?
Fine with me.
So nothing's changing, and in the
What do you
local
think?
law, we're just changing the permitting.
Yeah, doesn't know, the fee's not
Good.
established.
Do you have any objections, Jim?
I just think, can we get some eggs out of it?
You don't want to do that.
We're not allowed to do
No,
that.
you can't be banter.
I'm always wrong.
I know. And another thing is, hens don't lay eggs in the winter. So all those months where it's cold, they're just sitting in their coop, freezing. If they have a little heat lamp, that's nice, but they get no eggs.
That's why it has to be
That's why you have an
inspected,
inspection.
what you just said, that
What's that?
lamp thing is why they have to be inspected.
That's fine, every 2 years, but I just thought the fee was too high. I don't mind the inspection, I just think the fee's too
It seems
high.
reasonable.
I think the fee's too high,
This seems
that's all.
reasonable.
That's all, I just want to lower the fee.
That's right, you're gonna have extension for it.
But I think the inspections are necessary.
No, that's fine, I just thought the fee was too high for them though.
Fair enough,
Yeah.
Okay, so initially $75, and inspection, and then every 2 years, 50,
Love it.
and an inspection.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay,
All right, thank you.
you're very welcome, thank you. Deputy Mayor Tory, committee reports.
Oh, wow, okay, where are we here? Committee
Overlap.
reports, okay, the, only thing I have to report on our committee is, environmental, it's having Earth Day, Arbor Day, on June 7th. Don't forget, Wegmans is gonna come this year, and they're gonna talk about, all those plastic bags you collect at Wegmans, what they actually do with them, where they go, what they make out of them basically, and how they really recycle them. They don't just take the bags and throw them away, they actually use them. They go to a company and they make, plastic goods, benches, whatever. So they're gonna come and explain that, which I love. But a big thing is, don't forget the Dare to Repair Cafe. If you have anything you want repaired, don't dump it, fix it, just register under the tool library. You can go toollibrary.org, and then it goes to Dare to Repair, and you register your item, or 2 items. So they have enough equipment there to fix it, if it's a bicycle, or a sewing machine, or whatever. So that's the environmental, and actually, who's tree board? You, Jeff, right? Yeah, so the Arbor Day as well.
Yes.
Um,
Handing out their seed.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a great event. The 175th anniversary, now this is really exciting. So thanks to Sophie, who came up with a great idea that we're gonna have, we're working with Sweet Jenny's to have a contest. Basically developing a new flavor of ice cream that represents the village of Williamsville, and also naming that ice cream. And it's gonna be a local contest. So, I'm working on little flyers right now. These are just ideas I had. But, for example, I wanted to go the historic route, and, Mr. Cadmus wasn't too keen on that. But I was thinking something like this,
Oh, I like that.
I went and took a picture of the mill, and he had these little fake big ice cream cones there. So I said, can I use that as a prop? So something like this, or if it's, he doesn't want to do historical, I wanted to, because it's 175th corporation, or this, something like this,
Oh, yeah, that's nice too.
yeah.
We need to vote.
Pardon me? Yeah, I'm gonna ask him which one he prefers, because he's really running
Right,
the contest.
right.
We're just taking part in it. And then, he gave me all the rules and regulations of what ice creams you can pick. And there will be a prize. Whoever wins the contest will receive 2 quarts of ice cream and a $25 gift certificate to Sweet Jenny's, and bragging rights. Yeah, so it's gonna be a great contest, and it's gonna happen on June,
Also, we're gonna announce,
26th.
announce on June 26th, that's the block party.
that's the block party at the Glen,
Yeah.
which will be a family event, and the winner will be announced there. And then, actually, proceeds will benefit a, whatever, if we want to choose, I said, he goes, can he actually give the proceeds to the beautification committee to buy more flowers? Is that permissible?
We can't dictate what he does with the proceeds.
Well, he asked me, he said, can I do that?
He can do whatever he wants. They're-
Yeah, because he always donates the proceeds, that's one thing he does. When he has a contest, and he donates the proceeds to worthy cause. So I thought that was cool, right?
Yeah?
Yeah, so I'm working on that with Sophie and Howard. All right, next thing, the Bioswale Bonanza was amazing. I don't know if you all looked at the Amherst Bee from this week.
I did.
We had.
Great article.
Yeah, it was a great article, thank you, Sophie. But we had, at least 30-plus volunteers who came out in a cold, rainy day, and my gosh, did they work hard. They were just absolutely amazing. And we got all bioswales done. We weeded, we put down compost, we planted 225 little plants, and then we put the red crimson clover seeds on top, which are now germinating very nicely. And thank you, Ben and his crew, for bringing the compost and the wheelbarrows. Everything worked out so perfectly, I mean, I was amazed. Unfortunately, I went back on Saturday when I spoke to Howard, and I looked at the bioswales, and the ones in front of Moorpat and Share, the plants disappeared. And instead, there were a lot of cigarette butts, and lime slices, and beer cans, or whatever. So, the gentleman who runs Moorpat, I had a short discussion with him, and I would like to put up a sign that we should create explaining what the bioswales are. So I thought maybe something like this, or we can do, this is in an ashtray,
Like that one.
the ashtray one.
Yeah, well, is there a butt receptacle out there, like? just more
Well, that's
plants?
another thing, so I wrote him an email, I said, you have 2 ashtrays, but you can't see them.
Right.
So you have to bring them more to the forefront, so people use them. They need to be bigger too, I mean, they're these little things.
All right.
But I think, I would like to have signs made that are placed, just the ones actually in front of the restaurants.
Yeah,
Because further down, they're great,
yeah.
there's no issue, absolutely no issue. It's just the ones that are in front of the restaurant. What do you think? Ben, not good?
Should they step on?
What do you think?
I just think I would never walk out bar without paying my tab, so I can't imagine walking off with someone else's landscaping. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, we actually have to.
All right,
Come back.
and I love my park day was also a great success where we had, the Girl Scouts come out, a troop, and, they weeded and raked the entire little gardens throughout Glen Park.
They did a great
Yeah, we were together, a few other people from Glen Park joined board, and, they were amazing and excellent, and we're gonna present them with a proclamation in June, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. So, I don't know if you wanted to talk about ADU?
Not right now. We're gonna come back, we have a
Yeah,
board meeting.
but we
at
have to
7:30.
talk about that, though.
Yeah, we'll finish
Yeah.
this up after,
Okay.
board meeting and workshop, or right. All right, we're ready to begin the Village at Williamsville Village Board meeting for May 12th, 2025 at 7:34 PM. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Deputy Mayor Tory, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Administrator Canal, roll call, please.
Mayor Hunt,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Tory,
Here.
Trustee Jackson,
Here.
Here?
Trustee Hunt.
Here.
All right, thank you. Make a motion for the approval of minutes from the April 28th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, rules of procedure. Rules of procedure, if anybody would like to come to the podium during public participation, please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please direct them to the entire board, not to individual board members. And thank you very much for that. Make a motion for suspension of rules for public participation. Roll call vote, please.
Sure, Mayor Hunt,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Tory,
Yes.
Trustee Jackson,
Yes.
Trustee Celeste,
Yes.
Trustee Hunt.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have no, I open up the floor for anybody who would like to step to the podium. Please address the board. Just state your name and whether or not you're village residents.
Dick Roth, village resident. In regard to the Gomez and Sullivan report that's going to be discussed at the next meeting, are there 3 or 4 options that they'll be discussing?
3.
3 or 4 options?
There are
3
3.
or 4? There are 3.
Three,
Okay.
correct.
Will this copy of the report be available to the public before that meeting on the 27th?
It is a draft. It will not be available to the public until it is final.
When is it going to be finalized?
After this meeting and after we.
You're not going to be voting on anything?
We're not going to vote on anything.
27th?
No.
Will there be?
This is for public information.
Okay, and will there be a public comment period before any
Yes.
passing of a resolution?
Prior to a major project, yes,
Yes.
Would we not have a public hearing?
we will.
You have a public hearing.
We will.
Right.
So tell me again, just so I understand, when will the final document be available for public review, particularly the people who own property along the creek?
Mhm.
More importantly, the people who own property into the creek? I believe there's 7 of those homeowners or property owners in the village.
Do you know that offhand, Chip? 7?
No, I don't believe you do.
Not offhand.
Okay.
No, when I asked this question, well, to make it short, Chip, when I asked this question 2 years ago, you said the only way to determine definitively would to be do a survey of all the deeds, go through all the deeds
Yeah,
of the
we
property
have not
owners, and you have not done that.
So, and we will have the discussion with Gomez and Sullivan. We will get the input from the board, and then we'll have a final report that we'll share with the.
Okay, and once the
public.
report is finalized, how much time is?
That I cannot say. I don't know how much,
Well, you don't know what my question is. You don't know what.
Oh,
my
I thought you meant-
question about the time is.
when you would have it.
No, well, you have to listen more carefully so you understand.
Well, that was the first time you asked.
Okay, let's start from the beginning here. After you receive the final report from Gomez and Sullivan,
Mm-hmm.
how long of a period do you expect before you take a vote on any one of the recommendations making a choice?
After we follow all the procedures that we need to follow for public input, and we know how we're going to fund it. So I
Okay.
don't know when that will be.
Okay, so just historically in the past, anything like this?
No.
You have no idea?
No.
Nope.
Okay, all right. And one final question, who's going to be doing the inspection of the chicken coops?
Tony
Oh,
Schickler.
okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, very good. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go next. Oh, you go. Sure, okay. Well, that was a good lead-in. I feel as though I may be the village
village chicken lady now. I was wondering if the board had a chance to review my notes with the request for the larger flock size as well as the lowered fee or
What's your name?
Yep, Dana McWhite. I am a village resident. I live right over on Garrison. And I had sent a letter, just requesting a couple things. The first was increasing the, if you would consider increasing the flock size from 6 to 8. There's a lot of research that shows that chickens are healthier and happier when the flock size is a little bigger. And then also if you would consider lowering the fee to maybe $125 or $150 or increasing the fee term, from 2 to 3 years, just based on rates of inspection, it just seemed like a high fee.
Okay. Were you not, did you just get here?
I just arrived.
Okay. At the very end of work session, we did discuss that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going with 6.
Okay.
We are going to reduce the permit fee substantially, actually. And we are still going to do 2-year inspections. Okay, so we are compromising. Okay,
Thank
you're welcome.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for your input.
Good evening, village board members. My name is Thomas Frank, and I reside at 5403 Main Street in the village of Williamsville, which is in the town of Amherst. And I want to thank you for giving me 3 town board or village board minutes to present my intermunicipal Glen Park Joint Board lead agency proposal, which I just gave a presentation to the town regarding an intermunicipal cooperation agreement, which they had a resolution number 462 to amend the 2025 through 30 capital improvement program. And that's a part of this, that my intermunicipal joint board lead agency proposal for your 2050 intermunicipal cooperation agreement for a 5-year, 2025 through 29, $10 million capitalization at $2 million per year. The power project is the relicensing settlement. They give away $9 million a year, having to do with the mitigation of the cumulative negative impact, like the and having to do with erosion, which results from the hydrogeographic topography. The implementation that the 2005 Village of Williamsville Community Plan included the interconnection of Glen Park and the Amherst State Park, but the implementation was it was ignored, as far as the plan, that it wasn't the implementation, it wasn't pragmatically dealt with. They sunk $170,000 into the repair of the stairway going into the floodplain. It's a historic preservation. Let's see, that it was ignored by the village and the town. Do you remember Charlie Speck? Anybody? Charlie did a really good job working on that thing, and they fired him. So the 2000 through 50, the updated village master, the community master plan, that we want this in there, because it's
Tom, excuse me,
almost
Tom.
an Ellicott Creek.
Tom,
It's
excuse me.
The town of Amherst Greenway,
Thank you,
Central
Tom.
Park, and
Tom,
Trailway. They're
okay.
interconnected. Thank you. I
Thank you,
hope I
but,
didn't go over.
no, you're fine. But are
Are you sure?
you are going to the meeting tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow night, okay, good.
Yes.
Because
It's,
I think you'll
very
be
important.
interested.
And, as far as the information with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the parks, trails, and historic preservation, the Greenway Summit meeting.
Tom,
thank you.
You were
Okay.
right on time.
You were right on-
Has
that's
to
right,
do
you were
with
right on
the,
time.
New York State Opportunity for Regional Economic Development Council. That is,
Okay,
it's interagencies.
Thank you,
The
Tom.
village, the town, the county, the region, and the
Tom,
state.
Tom,
Okay.
thank you.
I didn't run my mouth.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
We appreciate your
I think
dedication.
you know the answer to the question.
Speaking of, they're not even here.
Okay, anybody else like to come to the podium?
Ah, Mr. Sherman.
Not coming to complain about it.
Hello.
Tom hit its assault on the microphone. Is this still good?
We can hear you.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Seems like it's fallen.
Yeah.
Well, so are the Maple Leafs, but that's beside the point. I just, on behalf of the fire department, I want to thank Sophie and the rest of the board, all village officials, everybody who works here, for not only discovering, but also presenting to us a total of 38 letters and documents that were written or sent between 1904 and I think the oldest one is 1910, I think. But the cream of the crop, if you may, let me read this, I will. Dated November 14th, 1907. It is from E.H. Hutchinson, who was a well-known entrepreneur and citizen of the time. And he wrote this to Milton Hoffman, who was president in the Board of Trustees, because they didn't call the mayor, they called him president. Anyway, so Mr. Hutchinson writes that his grandfather, John Hutchinson, settled in the village of Williamsville in the year 1815, and my father, John M. Hutchinson, was born there in 1820. It was there that our branch of the Hutchinson family lived and prospered for many years, and where I, although born in Buffalo, passed many happy days, and I've always felt that I would like to do something to show my friendly feeling for the old village. And this is in 1907, he's calling us the old village. Hearing that you are intending to erect a village hall in the village and are looking for a site upon which to build, I take great pleasure in offering to donate a piece of land not less than 50 feet frontage on the westerly line of the property on Main Street, known as the Hutchinson Homestead, upon the condition that the village hall be erected upon it in its conformity with the line of present buildings and in such other minor conditions as you and I may agree. If you accept the proposition, I suggest that your board appoint a committee to consist of your president and one other citizen with power to make arrangements for the transfer of the property, hoping my proposition will meet you favorably. And I don't think anybody has ever seen old Ed Hutchinson's signature
His signature,
That's
yeah.
so
until this
cool.
week. Thank you. I never saw it. But just to follow up, stand by. I'm afraid to take this out of here. Okay. An equally dusty letter. This is February 28th, 1908, from Milton Hoffman, the president of the village, saying that Mrs. Hutchinson and I have this day executed a deed to the village of Williamsville for 55 feet of land on the westerly end of the Hutchinson homestead lot to be for the purpose of erecting therefore a village hall and a hose house.
And the hose.
And where's that photo?
It's over
Right
there. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the building we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the fire engine came out on the far right, looks like a garage door.
Right.
The 1934 Ford, 34, 38?
I thought it was 32.
Okay, let's say it's 32. He's the chief. Came out of that area on a ramp. It had, time flies. So the one fire engine we had came up out of that spot on a ramp. It was very dangerous, very precarious. One of our guys actually had his leg crushed
Yeah.
because he was a little too close to the wall when they pulled the truck out. Anyway, bottom line is,
Oh, my God.
this is gold.
Yeah,
History nerd,
it is.
this is gold. So I can't thank you enough. You're not gonna cry, are you? It's pretty close. But think of the fun we can have with this, a blank piece of stationery.
I know, I saw that.
From the Williamsville Hose Company. Think of the fun we can have with that.
That could be our new letterhead.
Perhaps. So anyway, a lot of thank yous to go around, but it was really amazing to see this come out, so thank you all.
You're quite welcome, and thank you to Sophie and Deputy Mayor Torrey for putting that together. They were the ones that implemented
38
that.
documents,
Yeah.
38 names, at least.
That's interesting.
And recognizable names too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Every
I
street
know,
in the
isn't that
village.
crazy?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
thank
great.
you.
No,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you
If
had
I
one.
may, I do have a question regarding the picture from the firefighters here. So the taller structure on the left-hand side would be where you hung the hoses to dry?
I think so, yeah. And we have a modern version of it back here on our current fire hall, which is probably the equivalent of like a two-story building, because each length of hose is 50 feet. Okay. I learned that much. So yeah, that would be the hose tower, and I believe on the right, that's a chimney. And I have another village hall photo from, I guess it's around 1960, of one of our inspections. And the village hall had about 4 chimneys on that side. That's not what you call central air, that's just called keep it warm.
Right.
So there were 4 very large chimneys on the west side. Yeah, that you're looking at, the west side. But, and no, in this day and age, I don't think that building will ever be torn down.
No.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
It's
Totally.
a shame.
Sad. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
well, thank you.
That was cool.
That was very interesting. All right, anybody else like to come to the podium?
Hi, Paul Kreider. Want to talk about the dam. I sent in October and then again in March reports from Kathy Hochul about funding projects related to the dam. And in March, I was here, and where are we going with this? And you said you had 4 different studies. And come back and I'll make sure you're here April 20th, I think you said, we're gonna go over it. Well, now we're a month late.
We had to move it out.
So in those reports that I sent to you in October and March, they had dates. What grants will the village apply for? I guess I was asking, there was an application date of May 9th, and that application date was to make sure you had, or whoever is applying for these grants, had the proper accreditation processes to them. I think we're a little late.
Well.
We can't apply for what we don't know
We can't
yet.
apply for them yet anyway, because we don't have a study in hand.
We don't have, well, we don't know
I
what
mean,
we're applying for
no, we have a
yet.
draft.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So the last date I'm seeing now is June 6th, so we're talking about next year.
We knew that, unfortunately.
Oh, we agree? So now that you have a study coming, nothing will probably be done until you have to apply for the following year. We'll see where it goes. So can we at least pin you down to what date this week or next week you'll have this 4 studies done, or is it 3?
No, it's one study, and they were giving us 3 to 4 models.
Yeah.
There's 3 models in
3
it.
models or 4?
There are
3.
3 in it.
Okay. So what date can we come to the village and pick up a package?
We're going to have a work session meeting on May 27th.
That's great. But
And then
would
once
like
we
to
have,
We would like
once-
to have it in hand before.
right, once we finalize it,
Paul, she's trying to answer you.
once we finalize it, once we have a final study, we have to talk to Gomez and Sullivan. If we have any questions or anything needs clarification, they'll have to do that. So I can't tell you when they will finish it, but I would expect it would be within maybe a month from that time.
All right.
And then we can, share that.
So who's steering the ship here?
We
Sullivan or the village?
We are steering the ship. We are working with FEMA. We've met all of our benchmarks and timelines
Well, it just seems like it's.
for the last
dragging on
year.
for many years.
Well, they had to do an awful lot. They had to look at a lot of different,
I realize that. I just hope that you're not being strung along and.
we are not being
No.
strung
They
along.
gave us updates all along, Paul.
And they meet with us,
We also
we meet with
inquired.
FEMA monthly. it's been a process. We
Yeah,
are following
I-
all
I-
of
I
the
can appreciate
benchmarks
that.
for
It's
that
just,
process.
We're out here in limbo and it's, next month, next
Well,
month. next
there's a
month.
procedure to everything, and we have to follow it, because if we don't, it's
I
like,
mean, I understand that, but you tell the public next month, and then it's next month, and then, so,
There were some scheduling conflicts, but
we elected you officials to represent.
May
us.
27th,
Well,
Gomez
come
and.
to the next
Gomez
village
and Sullivan.
board meeting.
It'll
Don't
be
miss it.
remote. Gomez and Sullivan are doing their presentation remotely because they, again, had a scheduling conflict and we did not want to move it to June.
All right.
Okay?
So what's the date?
May 27th, the next work session, 6 PM.
All right.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing nobody come to the podium, I make a motion to close suspension of rules for public participation.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have no proclamations. We have no public hearings this evening. Reports. Again, I just want to remind everybody to please come to the meeting tomorrow night at Williamsville South High School for the public workshop for the comprehensive plan. Other than that, I have no reports or committee reports. All right, I make a motion that it be resolved that the budget transfers are hereby made in the general fund for the 2024-2025 fiscal year as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion number two, make a motion that it be resolved that the following budget transfers are hereby made in the sewer fund for the 2024-2025 fiscal year as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number three, make a motion that it be resolved that payroll and vouchers in the amount of $260,147.06 covering the period from 4/21/2025 through 5/7/2025 are hereby approved as follows, as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution number four, make a motion that it be resolved that local law number 4 of 2025, amending Chapter 112 zoning relative to the regulation of chicken coops is hereby adopted. No, we were going to vote on it. Well, we didn't change anything. We just, permitting fees are part of the permit process?
Yeah, but then we can make that clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the version that was made available,
Mhm.
so I would just,
So now we gotta change it back.
just say the local law number or whatever it is.
As amended then.
With the following amendment, changing
Stop.
subparagraph 4,
Here.
Yeah, no, I see it.
8 to 6.
Okay, as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Tory.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Hunt. I have no resolutions tonight. Let me see, reports. I just want to remind everybody that there is an Environmental Advisory Committee meeting on the 19th at 7:15 PM. And also that we'll be celebrating Earth Day Arbor Day on June 7th. Please mark your calendars. It's a great event. We hand out tree saplings to people who come, because it's also Arbor Day. And then the event itself will take place on Island Park with the Dare to Repair Cafe. And we have the Western New York Stormwater Coalition, Wegmans Grocery, Messenger Woods Wildlife with Animals, Sierra Club, Earth Spirit Educational Services, Erie County Safe Homes for the Gnomes, Amherst Refuse and Recycling, and so much more. We're also collecting alkaline batteries. And that will happen actually every Saturday at the market. The town of Amherst has the, what do you call it, the composting table, and they will be accepting alkaline batteries every Saturday during the market. And on Earth Day, they will also be accepting styrofoam for recycling. So you have any styrofoam in your garage, because you hate to throw it in the garbage because it does not dissolve, bring it to Earth Day, please, and they'll take it from you, and we'll bring it to a company that actually reuses it. So it's a big event on the 7th. Mark your calendars. Bring something that you need fixed, a bicycle, a car seat, whatever it is, and Dare to Repair will gladly fix it. And that's thanks to the Village of Williamsville. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Tory, Trustee Celeste.
Thank you, Mayor. Committee reports, I don't have any for the meeting house. That meeting will be taking place, and then traffic and safety is taking place next week. It was postponed until then. I will say that, as a reminder, Youth and Rec will be having their family bingo night this Friday, May 16th at 7 o'clock at the meeting house. So families that are interested, this is a great event, lots of fun. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Trustee Celeste. Trustee Hahn?
The WBA, we had a nice report, and they will be meeting on a week from Wednesday. The Beautification Committee meets tomorrow at 1 o'clock. They are, of course, looking for volunteers. The Tree Board will have their meeting and are participating in the Earth Day with the distribution of the saplings for free. I want to commend and express my respect to the crew of the DPW for the work that's being done on the garden, the Triangle Garden, as you like to refer to it, Ben, but also the Garrison Park Garden. Certainly 1812 is far beyond anything I expected, and I think it's just awesome. And they're really doing a great job, and it's professionalism, and it's perfect. So thumbs up on that. And please convey that to the crew. Yeah. On a general comment, our green spaces, the parks, the bioswales, the gardens, the trees, these are all valuable assets of the village. And it's money well spent. The dedication that we give to those things, it comes back to us in quality of life, and it's really money well spent. And we had comments on the budget and the B. I was hoping they would be here so they could take a quote. But I am really impressed with the work that's being done, but I'm also impressed with how we're spending the money on this stuff, and I think it's a very good job that's being done. I do have a resolution. Resolved that Tim German, Erie County Planning, is hereby appointed to Community Plan Action Committee effective immediately.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Hahn. Trustee Jackson?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Staff reports, anything to add? Sophie?
Oh, just please come tomorrow night to Williamsville South High School at 6:30 p.m.
And download our app also. Okay.
We'll send you a notification to come tomorrow night.
There you go. Administrator Cannell?
No, nothing further.
DPW Chief Villanin?
No, we're just, we're gonna be, we're gonna be opening up the bathrooms and the parks, so this weekend we'll kind of be preempting the official opening of parks in the village by a couple of days.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, okay, make a motion to go off agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a legal proceeding and obtain legal counsel from the village attorney.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everybody. We're going into executive. We will return to finish the work session and adjourn. Yes. Ben, Ben, excuse me, if you guys don't want to stay, yeah, you don't have to stay. Well, we'll go back to work session, but yeah. I mean, you're welcome to stay, but. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Did we get a timeline, a new timeline from Bernie?
So they're gonna hang around?